Well, it's Uncommon Fossil, and Pokemon has now made the official announcement about when rotation is coming for 2025. For IRL play, it is happening April 11th, 2025, but for online play in Pokemon TCG Live, it is coming March 27th, 2025, and that's the date that I'm focusing on myself. What happens is, with IRL play, competitive IRL play, there's a 2-week delay from when the cards are first available to when they're legal for tournaments, just to allow people to get time to get access to the cards. But within live, the digital world, rotation happens immediately. So what's going to happen is on March 27th, we're going to get Journey Together. That's the expansion that's coming out. Then that's got the new card, the owner's Pokemon, the new mechanic, trying to remember what that was called. That's going to happen come March 27th, and rotation will happen that same day. So what that's going to mean is cards with a regulation mark F are going to go away. I'll provide a link to this article too, because it does explain it pretty well on Pokemon Park. So we're going to lose all the Vs, the V Maxes, the V Stars, the Radiant Pokemon. All of these cards in the lower left corner, you'll see they have a F stamp. So things with the F regulation mark are going away. It's only cards with a G or an H regulation mark are legal, as well as what I imagine the new cards are going to have an I regulation mark stamped on them. So this Miraidon EX, for instance, has a G regulation mark, so it will still be legal when rotation happens. So really, it's Scarlet and Violet cards only are going to be legal when rotation hits. Now, why is this? First, this is the norm for collectible card games, so it's not something unique to Pokemon. It's nothing to freak out about. Primarily, it's here to keep the game fresh. Rotation, it forces people to change and adapt, so which is a good thing all in all. Now, on the cynical side, it forces players to buy a bunch of new cards, right? You can't just hold on to your favorite deck forever. You have to buy new cards more often than you might want to, because rotation, and that's a cynical approach, is not completely wrong. I think there's some truth there, but primarily it is for the health of the game. So rotation is a good thing. There is expanded format as well to play the older cards. So, but not going to get into that in today's video. If you want to know about expanded format in more detail, just let me know. So we're going to have G and H are going to be legal. Obviously, all the Vs, the Radiants, all those are going away. The one exception to this kind of regulation mark issue that you should be aware of is cards is primarily with trainers. Cards have been reprinted. So like this rare candy here, it has a G regulation mark, so we know we'll be able to play it post-rotation because G and H are legal, as well as what I expected, the newer cards, which I expect to be I. But at the same time, you'll still be able to play like this other rare candy with an F regulation mark, even though the F cards have rotated, because it's a rare candy card. It's the exact same card as the new rare candy, just different arts. So essentially, where they've reprinted trainers with newer regulation marks, you can play the older version of the trainer as well. So that's the one exception to it. But ignoring that, you can only play cards with G, H, and what will soon be I regulation marks. And okay. So as a budget player, and particularly for new players, just be a little careful though with how you spend your resources. Like, this is not the time to spend a lot to play an Arceus V-Star deck, because it's not going to be cheap, and it's going to go away in 2 months, right? So Arceus V-Star, you probably don't want to do Rotom V, which is a very good card, like in Charizard. If you don't have a Rotom V already, you might actually just want to kind of hold off on it, I will say. You could get it, and you'll get good use out of it for the next 2 months, like in your Charizard Pidgeot deck. But on the other hand, after 2.5 months, you can't play it in Standard anymore. So if your resources are tight, you might not want to craft these rotating cards. So these higher cost cards that are going to rotate, just be careful of right now. That's the one caveat I will say. Just be a little aware rotation's coming, but I want you to be aware. It's nothing to freak out over. It happens. What's going to happen to you is one day in late March, especially if you forgot about rotation, you're going to log into Live, and you're going to see that most of your decks are no longer playable. It's going to have the little logo, like a red circle with a line through it, saying you can't play this deck, and a bunch of people are going to freak out, but it's okay. You can look, if it's a card where, like, it's an Arceus V-Star deck, you can't play the deck in standard because Arceus V-Star is not legal. But if it's a deck like even like a Miraidon deck or something, you'll have some trainers and a few attackers that you could maybe swap out with newer cards that are legal. So you can maybe update some decks. That's one of the things I always do after rotation. The other thing I definitely need to mention, I should have done this before this, is we should get a new set of starter decks at that point, because we have our 8 starter decks. We get 8 starter decks each year. That's what they've been doing. So we should get 8 brand new starter decks at the end of March when rotation happens. So we'll all have at least those 8 decks we can play in standard legal format, as well as the decks we're going to get in the battle pass are all going to be standard legal decks as well. So that's also going to give us standard legal decks there. So we'll have things we can play for sure. And obviously, once the new starter decks come out, I'll be talking about that as well. So anyway, so that's where we're at. Rotation's coming. Just be prepared. Don't worry about it. It's not Pokemon's plan to get us. Like I said, it may be a little bit, but mostly it's not. And for the most part, just don't worry about it. Just think twice before crafting expensive cards that are going to rotate soon, especially if you don't have a lot of resources. You might not want to do that. But rotation is going to come, and just don't freak out when it happens. I know when I go in the forums right after rotation happens that there's going to be a lot of panicky messages from players that just didn't know what happened, and all of a sudden it's like, lives telling me I can't play anything anymore. So I can't play all the decks I love. What happened here? So it's rotation's gonna come. F regulation my cards are out. G, H, and I cards are gonna be in, and life goes on, and it's just part of the evolution of the meta within a collectible or trading card game. And just roll with it, and it's all good. So anyway, take care, have fun, and play some Pokemon.